Hey there, boys and girls. A little while ago, I did a video for the first two Mission Impossible films, kind of a retroactive look back. And so now I'm going to cover Mission Impossible 3 and 4, the fourth one being called Ghost Protocol. So basically, the new Mission Impossible film is going to be coming out in about a year, give or take. However, I suspect, and you got to quote me on this too, I suspect that it'll probably get bumped forward because there's a lot of holes, there's a lot of openings for films in the next year. And I think that Mission Impossible, I guess it's going to be 7, I forget what they're going to call it. It's probably going to be done before their actual release date, depending. So I expect it to get pushed forward. So I'm doing these reviews now, anticipating that Mission Impossible 7 will not take a whole nother year and change to come out, okay? So we're going to start with Mission Impossible 3 and cover that and go from there. Mission Impossible 3 was the debut, basically the directorial debut for J.J. Abrams. And actually, Mission Impossible 3 wasn't super well received amongst the public. It actually made the least amount of money out of any of the films, which is crazy considering, the first two were not like, awesome, like out of control, so good, whatever films. Nobody expected, I think, the franchise to get a third film. I think they had a lot of trouble getting a third film off the ground and getting it approved. But they ended up letting J.J. Abrams direct it. And so now we can look back and we can see that J.J. Abrams is very, very unoriginal. The film was fine, but it's actually been shown that he did shot for shot, like basically reshoots of things that he's done on his TV shows, like Alias or whatever. Shot for shot reshoots, like for this film, out of TV show stuff. Like everything they do was like the exact same motion. And then now that we've seen J.J. Abrams do all these remakes for Star Trek 2, then Star Wars, and 2 different Star Wars movies, and we've seen that he actually is less good when he's dealing with original material, when he has to do original material. He actually likes to, it seems, copy somebody else or himself previously, which may or may not be copied from somebody else before that. Who knows? But there are a lot of J.J. Abrams fans out there, and a few people are gonna be upset at me talking trash, but I'm just saying the truth. The guy likes to do things over and over, and he likes to do things that he knows somebody else has already done and that they worked. That can be good. I mean, really, how many original things are out there, right? Like in a given film, but you don't need to be so obvious about it. Mission Impossible 3, I felt like it's pretty decent. I do like it. I do think that it's the least engaging. It's the first one where the action is very typical and standard, and like the action doesn't keep me engaged. I find myself wanting to like pay attention to other things, look at the ceiling, anything other than watch the movie when there's supposed to be an action sequence that's supposed to be keeping you glued to the screen. But overall, the story I like okay. Philip Seymour Hoffman did like a really good job. Had kind of this monotone villain thing going on, and it worked pretty well. He stuck through it and like did a really good job, like a really convincing job for being, like he's not a menacing villain. He's not like a powerhouse, and he's not like gonna put up like a good fight scene, and he doesn't really, against like the protagonists. But he does his thing. He gets the job done very, very well. For being someone who's not going to be like a big menacing powerhouse villain that's gonna put out a big fight scene at the end, he does a really good job, and they do fine making that work. They really do. He's just like a cold, ruthless, horrible person, basically. And it's pretty cool. Now, the main drawback of the film, maybe the number one drawback of the film, is you never actually find out what the device is that they stole. At the end of the film, they literally ask, "What is the rabbit's foot?" And the guy says, what does he say? Like, "Stick around and I'll tell you," or something like that. Lawrence Fishburne, this is his only appearance in any Mission Impossible film to date. Um, and it's actually annoying. I don't need to know that bad, but I can't believe you have a whole film surrounded around this one item, and they don't even tell you what it is. I think it says biohazard on it, and that's it. And you don't ever get to find out what it is. It's nuts. So that's the biggest drawback is they couldn't even tell you what the item is. But I do like the film. The film's good, no question about it. But it's not spectacular. So basically, I would argue the first 3 Mission Impossible films were all kind of bleh, kind of good, average, for one reason or another. Maybe they were better than average if they suit you. All right. So moving on to Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, the 4th one. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is the best Mission Impossible movie to date. There has not been one that has been this good before or after. Something here just works. And the director here clearly we have a new director, by the way. He clearly made the effort to make every scene count. And that is very important, to this film. There's just some moments in it that are just so cool because of the take that they did. And that it would have taken them over and over and over to get that take. There's the moment where Tom Cruise's character, Ethan Hunt, and I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan. If anything, I'm probably the opposite of a Tom Cruise fan. And I think, as a Scientologist, I think the work they do is pretty evil. And the things they do is pretty evil. But they do this scene where he uses his belt on an electrical line or something like that, and swings down off the building to get away from a Russian cop or detective. And he lands on a truck. It doesn't look particularly realistic. He lands on a truck and rolls off the truck, but he rolls on the ground, and then the face he makes is just he looks at himself am I still alive? And then he has just this look of shock on his face, he can't believe that worked. And Tom Cruise is not known for that kind of work, but he gets an entire almost bit of dialogue across without saying a word. He tells you exactly what he's thinking without saying a word. And I don't think Tom Cruise is normally capable of that, but I'm sure the director was just hounding him. And he has to roll over in this scene on the pavement and then make that face. And they, to get that shot the way they did, maybe they got it quick, maybe they got it in one take, but it's one of those things that probably took many tries. And there's a couple examples like that in the movie where they actually get Tom Cruise to do something that you don't normally see him do, and him to make some humor that he doesn't normally get to make because he's not that naturally funny. And the director was responsible for making that happen. And so I really, really appreciate this movie for that. And then just in general, now there are some moments where there's a little too much going on, and it just kind of never wants to stop. The action just kind of goes and goes and goes and goes. And just when you think you're going to get a break and you're going to get to calm down for a second, a new thing comes up, a new problem arises, and the action just keeps going and going and going. For some people, that is going to be kind of tedious. I've talked about that before, about how the action can be tedious and it can actually take away from a film. This film is on edge for being too tedious for its own good, but I do think that it lands it anyway. It sticks the landing and it works. And so I still maintain that this is the best Mission Impossible movie. It takes that formula from the very first film, going back to the first film. It kind of ignores the formula from the second and third film and goes back towards the first film, takes that formula, adds a few new elements, and turns it into something really well put together, really well edited, has some legit moments of humor. Tom Cruise, as far as I don't really like the guy, and I don't think he's that skilled, and he tends to go on to a production and take it over, as everybody I think is well aware. He owns it. I feel like he acts like he owns everything and owns everybody. But obviously in this film, somebody wasn't having it, and somebody was like, no, you're going to do it the way we need you to do it. And they stick the landing so well. I think this is almost a perfect film. And nobody's heard me say that on this channel because it's been such a bad year for film. I actually have to go back in time, the last year and a half really. I have to go back in time and review older movies to get to be able to say that, but it's almost a perfect film. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. And the 5th one, which I'll talk about in a future video, definitely steals some of that formula from this one. And it does pretty well, but it doesn't do as well. So basically, there are some more things I have to go over. In Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol, officially not called 4, they do talk a lot about things from like prior events, which I guess I had thought I'd watched this before and I thought that it was from the third film, when a lot of the things they talk about actually are not from the third film. They're just, I guess, a whole new series of events that happened in Mission Impossible 3.5 that we never get to see. So that is kind of something where if you have somebody that you know who's never watched these films and you say, let's start with Mission Impossible 4, and you watch all this stuff, you're thinking you missed it from Mission Impossible 3. You did not. You did not miss it. It's not in there. A lot of the things they talk about is not in there. They just kind of pick up as if like a story just happened and they didn't put it in, which is fine. But, knowing that there's previous films, you may have the urge to go back and watch the third one and see what you missed. And generally, there's not a lot of that in the third one. So you're not actually missing anything. So you can start with this film being the best one. You can start here and pick up the films here if you want to. You're not missing anything too important. And so this film changed kind of the tide for the Mission Impossible films, I think, because it was, and I saw it for the first time and I was like blown away, like, oh, like they actually stuck the landing on one of these things. They actually went somewhere like better than average, because all the films till this point in the Mission Impossible franchise were decent but not spectacular. So like, wow, that's amazing. They actually landed it, and they actually turned out something that was really almost a masterpiece. So basically take all this with what you will, but I argue that you can start with the fourth one. That's where to go. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your views and your support. Click like, smash the subscribe button, and have yourselves a great day. Thank you.